and a number of people say I look completely different, even
Mhm.
people who only met me 6 months ago, and something to do with a really felt sense of not carrying that shame. And
Mhm.
I think it's been huge, huge for my confidence.
Welcome, Michelle, to the Creative Possibilities podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today. I so look forward to our conversation. You're a new friend of mine, and I'm just learning about you and learning about a really fun project that is busting shame, breaking through shame, allowing you to have more freedom and lightness in your life. And it is a project, from what I understand, of drawing and painting 100 naked men. So, can't wait to talk to you more about this. Michelle, yes, let me know a little bit about you and a little bit about this project. Want our audience to understand what this is all about.
Well, I'm an artist, I'm a painter, and I was carrying along on quite I was painting abstract paintings, various things. And then I had an experience. I was in the middle of getting divorced. I took myself to Florence,
Mm.
a bit of a treat. And first morning, I was in the Uffizi, the big museum there, and I was drawing a statue of Apollo, my
Mm.
first one. And I looked down and I noticed I'd left a hole in the middle, a blank in the middle where his genitals should have been. And I was just like, what? What?
It's there. How did I miss that? Yes.
What? Exactly. Like I've drawn the hands, the fingers, the ears, the mouth, the nose, the every other thing, his curly hair. I've drawn every other thing. Uh, his toes. Um, and I was like, is it possible that I have had some conditioning and I'm like 51? I've had two children. I've been married for 20 years. Is it possible that still got some conditioning in my mind that about what I should and shouldn't look at, like what I was taught like when I was a young girl? And so I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down and there's a great big statue of David. I don't know if you know about Michelangelo's 5 meter high statue of David. I thought I'm going to go straight down to David. I'm going to draw his genitals. I'm going to see how that feels. So I spent the afternoon there and I really felt like actually this is something I have not done, even though I've done a lot of life drawing. And I know there's a way that you can, with life drawing, because we've got nude rather than naked, there's a way you can avoid, I don't know, there's just a way you can avoid that part. So,
Yes.
in a sort of slightly rebellious moment, I thought, what if I'm going to do a project where I draw 100 men and really give myself permission to look and draw everything? So that's what happened.
I love it. Absolutely. Yes. Perhaps it's conditioning. Perhaps it's, something where we were taught a long time ago, like, oh, women shouldn't, focus too much on that. But as artists, we figure draw. That is one of the essential classes in colleges is figure drawing. And I was thinking about this before our interview, and I was like, yeah, I think I also kind of, roughly sketched the genital area, but like focused more on like the overall arms and shape and face. And yeah, it's so interesting. And I love how you gave yourself permission to just focus on it. Like, this is what I'm doing. Wow. And break through that shame.
Yeah, it did take me about a year
Mhm.
to start talking about it. I had it as an idea, and it was an
Wow.
exciting idea for me, but I realized it was terrifying. And when I had an opportunity to write a chapter in a book last year, and I ended up writing about the fact that, in fact, I started off as a figure painter, but I kept kind of getting, every time someone would say to me, why are they naked? I had a little bit of shame in there, and I kind of felt uncomfortable. So I kept putting it down. So I thought, well, you know what, this time I'm not putting it down. I'm gonna keep going.
Well, Michelle, you just told me an incredible story about how a big life transition, going through a divorce, sent you on a journey to Florence, to the museums, where you recognized that you were figure drawing statues of men, but not drawing their genitals, and how this was a inspiration for kind of an idea that needed to percolate for a little while for your 100 Naked Men project that you're doing right now. And you said that you wrote a chapter in a book that just kind of helped formalize and helped almost give you permission to do this project. I want to ask a question about letting go, though. What did you have to let go of to actually step forward to do this project?
Um, well, something really major for me has been everyone else's, my nearest and dearest, my family's, everyone's worries about what I'm doing. Worries that I'm going to be safe. Worry that I'm talking about it on Instagram and social media. And worry that I'm going to be shamed. Worry that something bad's going to happen to me, because I guess me doing this has triggered other people, has triggered their shame, I guess. I don't understand it, but anyway, there's been a lot of fear and anxiety, and
Mm.
I have just had to let that go. That's been huge.
Yeah, and it's probably not a one and done thing. It's probably
Oh,
a kind of a daily practice of letting go of new opinions, letting go of old opinions, letting go of other people's fear and worries. Yeah, that it sometimes can be heavy. Like sometimes we don't have anxiety until other people around us have anxiety.
yeah,
And it's kind of it trickles in whether we want to or not. So I love that
exactly.
you are consciously recognizing that it's their worries, it's their fear, and to just put it aside. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the value of doing something 100 times is like repeating the process and repeating and repeating, and so it's like, oh, here we are again. No, it wasn't just a one-off. It's been like, oh yeah, more,
Yep.
more and more.
Do you have a ritual that you tune in, like tuning in or centering yourself before you start drawing a new man or before you start with a new project?
I think I do quite a lot of I don't have a ritual in the in the on the day, but I do need to get really, really clear about what it is that I'm going to ask them to do. Um, because you know, what pose I'm going to ask them to sit in, and what exactly I'm doing, because it's an um unusual for me in a way to be saying it's like it's what I want, not what they want.
You're
And
the director. Yeah.
the director and I'm the artist and it's my project. So in the beginning, I was wobbly about that. So I spend some time going, what do you really, really, really want, Michelle? What is it that I really want this time? You know, from
Mhm.
these drawings. Yeah. Actually,
Mm.
a lot of quietness. I need to be quiet and really focus on that. Otherwise, I can get a bit lost and trying to make sure they feel okay. And I've had a couple of times where people that they have wanted like nice drawings for them to use on their social media or something like that, and I ended up getting quite lost and sort of like doing a terrible drawing because I didn't keep staying with what I was doing. Yeah.
It sounds like kind of stepping into your confidence, stepping into your leader, like the role of a leader in a very interesting situation where there's a naked man in front of you and you are directing him to pose a certain way, do a certain thing, and yeah, to stay focused on that project rather than having them tell you what they want.
Yeah.
It definitely, like as a woman, I do believe there is socialization that we are almost trained to take care of people instead of lead people, take care of people and make sure their needs and wants are taken care of. But I love how this it flips the script and it's like, I'm the boss. I'm gonna need you to do this.
Exactly. exactly. There's a lot of flipping the script in there
Mm,
because this time the artist is a woman and the model is a man, and all
yeah.
of those stories, uh,
Mhm.
which I learn unconsciously, I suppose. But and
I
also that thing between, yeah, power dynamics between men and women.
Yes, yes, I love that you're flipping the script on all of that. It needs to be, our society is, needing that. I'm just gonna say that. Our society is needing that.
Uh,
I am all about the empowered woman, and yes, women can be leaders and can be artists and soft and caring humans, but we can also be strong and competent and so many things. It's so many things.
yeah, well, it turns out that if I to hold a really safe space so that
Mhm.
the men can feel comfortable, the feedback is they're most comfortable when I say exactly what I want, and I'm
Mm.
really clear about what we're gonna do.
Uh-huh.
It helps everyone relax. So,
It's great feedback.
very interesting.
Yes, yes. I love what you're learning in this process. So is there an element of trust that you have to have in yourself when you go into kind of a scheduled drawing? What do you have to trust in yourself or trust in the situation?
Yeah, I think the whole process has been like, can I trust my instinct? Can I
Mhm.
trust myself? Usually, even though every man has sort of come to me through, like the last man, and so there's always a trail. They're not, I don't, it's not like someone can get in touch with me on Facebook and say, "Oh, I want you to draw me," and it happens. I only draw people that I've got some connections with. Um,
Nice.
so that helps me feel trust. Um, and also we've had a kind of back and forth. Um, so I've been able to see what their style of communication is, and I'm
Mm.
using my instinct
Yeah.
hugely right from the start, and I can sort of tell who are a bit more who are flaky, you know,
Mhm.
who's solid,
Mhm.
and
Who you want in your space.
who
Yeah.
I want in my space.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Love it. That goes back to just you being the director and then trusting that the communication will kind of tell you who is going to be a good model, who's going to be a solid human being to spend time with in your space. It's
yeah.
wonderful.
And I think I have to really trust, like,
Mhm.
even though it's kind of under under the radar. I mean, we kind of like, women have actually only been allowed into the life drawing classes in art school since like the 1860s.
Oh,
Women were
wow.
only allowed in the and they campaigned to get into the life drawing room. They weren't allowed in. They had to draw, statues. And so they had to campaign heavily to be allowed into the life drawing room. And that only happened at the beginning of the 20th century.
Wow, I had no idea.
I know. So, it's really, really recent that women have been allowed to draw men. And then there was always the issue of their reputation, them having, a kind of sullied reputation if this is what they did. So it's not that long that this privilege and this right has been available to women. And I feel like that's a kind of invisible story that
Yeah.
actually I'm like, oh, I wish someone had told me when I was at art school.
Mhm.
By the way, if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, if this seems strange that there's so many female nudes as opposed to male nudes,
Mhm.
that this is the history on that.
Yeah. That is fascinating. Yeah, I think about back to my college years. I did a degree in studio art, and yes, we had many more female models than we had male models. And yeah, that I had no idea. I had no idea, and just the whole concept of nudity in general. Like I love thinking about history and the prim and proper Victorians with their collars and all the corsets and everything, and how we really have kind of progressed and evolved to accept our bodies more, to that's still a struggle with acceptance is always a thing sometimes in the mental health realm, but how just being okay with being in a figure drawing class, being okay with the body in general, and then especially with a woman being okay with a male model and having it be socially acceptable. Um, Such great topics. I want to go on so many tangents. I'm going to stay focused on our interview today.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, as far as what have you noticed through this project? You've talked a little bit about it already, but what is transforming inside of you? What are you noticing about yourself as you're going through this project?
Um, well, a number of people say I look completely different. Even
Mhm,
people who only met me 6 months ago, and
mhm,
something to do with, a really felt sense of not carrying that shame. And
mhm,
I think it's been huge, huge for my confidence. It's not an easy learning curve having to, ask that. I'm up to drawing number 45, so I'm halfway. So to ask that many times, this is what I'd like. I'm looking for models. This is my story. This is what I'd like. It's 3 hours long. This is what I'm going to be doing. This is the pose I'd like. Has really, I think, really, really helped me become so much more confident and comfortable with asking for what I want. And
mm,
it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy in the beginning, but it's become, well, like being able to say to you, I'd love to be on your podcast. And it's become an easier muscle that I've got access to. And I can see that that's kind of that's massive in life, to be able to ask
mm,
for what you want
yes.
and not expect the rest of the world to be able to guess what I want.
Mhm. It's massive. I 100% agree because as a therapist, sometimes I work with people who don't know what they need. They're so used to taking care of other people, or they haven't been taught to even recognize what's going on in their body. We have these cues. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm this and that. Those are kind of the major things that people pay attention to. But how do I want to grow? What do you need to keep growing, to keep feeling like a confident human? And yeah, massive, totally massive. And through this project, it sounds like it is absolutely, it sounds like your confidence is building, your self esteem is building, and like you're tuning into you more. And yeah, this is it sounds like a beautiful lesson and a beautiful transformation that's taking. I just met you. I didn't know you 6 months ago, but you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
seem more lively. Like you just seem alive. Your spirit and your energy is very fresh and alive. And I see that. Sometimes the people that I work with, like their energy is like, "Ooh,"
Uh, uh,
we all have days and moments, but
exactly. I think there's something also about learning about fear, like that fear is, with our nervous system, everything that's comfortable for us
Mhm,
is, um, it's comfortable because it's familiar. And so anything that's unfamiliar, it carries some fear, like fear, am I going to be annihilated if I do this thing? And I think through testing the fear so many times, because I had the fear, and
mhm.
it's like my play space has got bigger, and that's a good feeling.
Yeah, you're stepping out of the box, and that's the creative. That's like creativity at its essence is you're doing something different than the norm. You're doing something different than what's expected. You're doing something different than what you've done in your life previously. And yeah, it really does put you in the driver's seat of creating a life that you want, versus having other people tell you what you should be doing and what's proper or what's, appropriate for a woman.
Exactly. And I think you only have to learn it in one area of your life, like exactly in creativity, and then
Mhm.
it can ripple out into other areas. So, I would say
Absolutely.
that's true that I'm discovering it, I'm practicing it there, but
Mm.
I'm feeling it everywhere.
Yeah, creativity, absolutely. I believe that 100% of my heart is a playground where we experiment with our boundaries, where we experiment with trying new things, giving ourselves, I keep coming back to this, giving ourselves permission to just do something, be messy for a while and make it into something else. It doesn't have to be beautiful all the time, but it can be just you creating something new. And yes, that ripples into many aspects for my life too, in my own artwork. My next question is about discovering, because I find that with my artwork, when I do create something new, I always seem to learn something about myself or discover something that I hadn't realized before. Has this process made you discover anything about yourself that you hadn't known?
Yeah, yeah. I have discovered that I'm actually really interested in there's something about the taboos and the stigmas and the things that we keep in the shadows that I've discovered that I really like lifting the lid on them. And I love like taking away dissolving the shame in something. That's what I've discovered. In fact, I feel really passionate about that. And yeah.
You like to shake things up a little, and you mentioned spicy. Yes, lift the lid, open up those taboos, let them be seen. Take the flashlight and shine light into those dark places that people feel too uncomfortable with, maybe. Um,
Yeah, or trying to share it in a way that can reduce some of that discomfort.
yeah.
Um, because there's a lot of energy in there, isn't there? I mean, I think I've discovered there's a lot of energy and life force in there was a lot of energy and life force in that forbidden thing for me. And
Mhm.
so, um, yeah, sharing my story and taking away the scariness of taboos is uh,
Mhm.
is something that
And
I love.
yes, yes. And I think you said it beautifully too. Like, you are kind of helping other people dissolve shame as well as dissolving your own shame about that. And our world needs less shame. There's definitely shame is such a heavy emotion that just keeps people kind of pushed down or locked into doing the same thing all the time. I think shame is a creativity killer too. It If we're always ashamed, we're going to be ashamed to push boundaries or do something differently. So you're a leader in so many ways, a leader in talking about subjects that really need to be talked about, and like to lifting that shame for people who may feel suppressed or oppressed or um, stuck in old patterns that were handed down by generations ago. So
Exactly, exactly. Intergenerational, generational. It's not like our parents didn't make it up. They got it
mhm,
from their parents. It's just been going on a long time. And
yeah.
yeah, so anyway, and I've discovered that I feel very comfortable talking about it. I'm happy
Mhm.
talking about it. So I feel like I've found my niche in a way.
Beautiful. Yes, you make like, just talking to you in general is very comfortable. You have kind of like an ease about the topic, about everything related to your art project, and that I can feel that, absolutely. I love that. Uh, my last question for you today is related to reconnecting. Um, has this project allowed you to reconnect to something that you felt like you lost in the past, or reconnect to others? I guess just that idea of reconnection. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, completely. And actually
Mhm,
something amazing that's happened is that as
mhm,
I've focused on and been really clear about creating a safe space,
mhm,
the the men tell me that being seen and not just being seen when I draw them, but being able to see themselves through my eyes, through the drawing, um, has been dissolving their shame. And I get to see, I guess, a bit more of their vulnerability. And the whole situation does create quite amazing connection. You know, it's not a date, and it's not it's not like having a cup of coffee, but it's, I guess, that shared vulnerability. I'm vulnerable because I've asked for what I want. They're vulnerable because they're sitting there without their clothes on, and that creates a huge amount of connection, actually.
Mhm. I didn't think about that after the drawing is done because we've been talking about kind of creating a space, having the men, drawing them, but then afterwards, the men viewing themselves. Oh, that's so powerful. And then do you take time to have a conversation with them afterwards and just
Yeah,
kind of, yeah.
yeah. And then they can take a photo of the drawing,
Mhm,
and then I ask them afterwards if they would be willing to write, how it was for them and what their
mhm,
main takeaways are. So then in the feedback, they've been able to say things like they saw themselves as, they saw their sovereignty, for example. They saw how
mm.
they saw how beautiful they were, and they didn't know that.
That's
So
awesome.
it's kind of so tender as well. It's sort of, um, it's sort of brave, and it's also so tender. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely multiple things all at once. It's not just one, because yeah, it's being vulnerable. Vulnerability is required to bust through shame too, to just be able to be 100% authentic. And those men that you're drawing are being vulnerable, seeing themselves in a new light. Maybe many of them have never seen themselves drawn. We all take photographs with our phones all the time, and a drawing is something very different. And I imagine the poses you put them in also kind of help accentuate kind of their bodies and who they are. Um, and that feedback sounds so valuable. It sounds so valuable for them to write it and then for you to also read it so that you can keep evolving through this project.
Yeah, and for some of the people who are following my project, the words that I share about the men's testimonials are the most profound thing. So I think there's connection that way as well. I don't know, I think a lot of women have this idea that men are totally comfortable with themselves and can't
Mhm.
can't wait to take their clothes off. And that's like, no, that's not my experience at all. My
Mhm.
experience is I need to work quite, not hard, but it's a conscious process to make them feel safe enough to happily take their clothes off. And
Yeah, much like we're socialized, men are socialized to wear a mask of confidence and to wear a mask of toughness and strength. And this kind of allows them to take off that mask. And I absolutely would love reading some of their testimonials too. I haven't been able to read any of those. So those glimpses of I get that in my relationship too. I get those glimpses of soft vulnerability with my partner, who is a very tattooed, tough guy. But when I see those glimpses of softness, it makes me love him even more. It makes me feel like we're not so separate. It makes me feel like we're human instead of male, female, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think there's something when you can connect in those really profound ways. It's all about connection in a way. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, tell me how people can find you and what, as far as with this project, you're halfway through it. What is the big vision for it? And then how can people read these testimonials and see your project?
Absolutely. Well, I always said in the beginning I was going to try and do it in a year. So a year is this June. So it's like, summer. Um, and I hope I'll have an exhibition, and I hope there'll be a catalogue. Why I wanted to ask the men what their testimonials were is because I hope there'll be in the catalogue, there'll be the drawing and the men's words, on the other page. So there'll be
Mm.
something for both of us. And you can find me on my Instagram. I'm Michelle Dovey Artist. And sometimes I post, if you scroll down, you'll see sometimes I post, the testimonials as a, yeah, I'll do
I
more of that.
love a request from your audience.
Absolutely. No, it's true, it's true.
Well, I've had a lovely conversation with you, and I so appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. And I definitely am going to follow your project. I would love to come to the exhibition. I know I'm across the ocean, but we'll see if I can make that happen.
Amazing. It was gorgeous to talk to you, Amber. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Bye, Michelle.